Carson Susi is being traded to their crosstown rival. We'll also discuss what this means for the rest of Broadway's blue line as we get closer to the trade deadline and who could be on the move next. Welcome back to Rangers Digest. We are built for Blue Shirt fandom, and I'm your host, Bret Botfeld. It is great to be back with you guys. The Blue Shirts have been bad. They are 7 points behind the second worst team in the Eastern Conference, the Ottawa Senators. So the trading has begun. You could see here just a few minutes ago from Vince Mercogliano saying, I'm hearing the New York Rangers are on the verge of their first move of the retool. A trade that sends Carson Susi to the Islanders is officially brewing. No announcement yet as they work out the particulars, but expect him to be held out of the lineup tonight for roster management. That could explain why there was no morning skate for tonight's game between the Rangers and Bruins. That can explain why Mike Sullivan is giving a press conference to the media at about 5 o'clock today. Now, the Rangers need a third-round pick at minimum from the Islanders for this to not be a failure by Chris Drury. At least if you get a third-round pick in return, you can break even on this trade, and I do expect that you should be able to at least break even because, as Vince says here, this would be the first Rangers-Islanders trade since 2010 when the Rangers acquired defenseman Juraj Niemi in exchange for a 6th-round pick. Now, there should be a rival tax, which is why I believe at the very least you need to get a 3rd-round pick in return for Susi. Before we get back to today's episode, this video is brought to you by Kalshi, the US's largest prediction market. Kalshi lets users trade event contracts peer-to-peer, not against the sportsbook, and Kalshi is available nationwide, including California, Texas, or right here in New York. The great thing about Kalshi is you can trade on events like the Super Bowl between the Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. Personally, I am trading on the Seahawks to win this game. They look like the superior team. If you trade $70, you can make over $100 in return. Not only that, with Kalshi, you can trade on other game props like anytime touchdowns. I am trading on Jackson Smith-Njigba to record a touchdown in this game and continue the dominance that we saw in the NFC Championship game. Using Kalshi is genuinely just a smarter way to use your sports or news knowledge, and you can close positions whenever you want. Download Kalshi using the link in the description and use this code on the screen, Digest NHL, to get $10 when you deposit your first $100, and thank you once again to Kalshi for sponsoring today's video. Now, Carson Susi is the first domino to fall. Hopefully this means that more players will be getting moved. Let's take a look at Susi's JFresh chart. So you can see last year he was absolutely atrocious when he was acquired by the Rangers for that 3rd-round pick. Now, overall as a player, he has been a more responsible defenseman for the team. I believe Mike Sullivan has a lot to do with that. But when it comes to his offense and defensive numbers, kind of similar to what we saw last season, maybe even a tick down. But in Sullivan's structured system, he has turned into a more reliable player. And the Islanders are in a playoff spot. They can certainly use a left-handed shot back there and someone who's a little bit more reliable. So it makes sense from an Islanders perspective, but I certainly hope and believe the Rangers should tax them because, look, haven't made a trade with them since 2010, and at the end of the day, they are still a rival in the Metro Division. Now, Molly Walker did confirm Vince Mercogliano's report that the Rangers are trading Carson Susi to the Islanders. It's getting close. Nothing official yet. We will have more information later, but just wanted to break the news of this initial trade that is brewing. Now, I believe the Islanders struck a deal with the Rangers because they are dealing with some injuries. They recently lost one of their defensemen, Ryan Pulock, January 21st against the Seattle Kraken. He sustained an upper body injury, so that kind of confirms that he will miss some time. And like I said, the Islanders find themselves in a playoff position and they need some help on the back end. I believe the Rangers are working from a position of power here, that they have leverage, because obviously making in-division trades is hard to do. There's usually a tax involved. Not only that, but Chris Drury has to understand that the Islanders are banged up. I just mentioned it a second ago. They're going to be without Pulock for some time here. It's crunch time. The season's almost over. They need some help on their blue line. And I really hope, for as bad as Drury has been, that he understands that. Because like I said, getting a third round pick in return, I would consider breaking even. But boy, oh boy, if you're able to get a second round pick in return for Carson Susi, that is a massive W for the Rangers organization. I'm actually enjoying hearing Islanders fans' reactions to this trade. A lot of people are saying this is basically Scott Mayfield for them, except Susi shoots from the left side. So the initial reaction I'm getting from Islanders fans that I know, from Islanders fans on the internet, is that they are not too happy about this deal. But like I said, it's coming from a position of desperation for the Islanders. But what's next for the Rangers is the real question here. Obviously, all the rumors have been surrounding Artemi Panarin, the big fish like that, Vincent Trocheck. But we understood that there was a real possibility Carson Susi would get moved here, and it's just good to get the ball rolling. Hopefully some more deals start to trickle out here over the next few days. But in my honest opinion, it's a great move, and we don't know what the official return looks like, but like I said, I'm just happy to finally get the ball rolling. Enough with the rumors. Let's actually start trimming the fat. And if it were up to me, nobody is off limits on that blue line except for Adam Fox and Scott Morrow. Yes, I'm taking calls on Braden Schneider. I'm taking calls on Will Borgen. Now, I don't know if the Rangers are going to look to deal a guy like Vladislav Gavrikov. He's been good this year. Nothing wrong with his play. But obviously, he hasn't been the same since Fox's injury. Also, speaking of Fox's injury, the reason I'd look to move Braden Schneider as well is, in my opinion, he's gotten exposed. Ever since Foxy went down, we understood how good that duo was with Fox and Gavrikov and how bad Gavrikov and Schneider have been as a pair. Now, Gavrikov deserves some blame, obviously, but Schneider getting that added responsibility that we all wanted him to eventually get, getting bumped up to that first pair on the blue line, something we were all begging for in the offseason. Don't bury him down on that third pair any longer. Give him more responsibility. And now that we've seen it, it hasn't looked great. It really hasn't. He does have some value around the league. And like I said, he hasn't shown me enough to where I'm saying, yes, I definitely have to keep Braden Schneider. Like I said, the only two, in my opinion, and this is just me, that are truly off limits are Adam Fox and to a lesser degree Scott Morrow. But I am fascinated to hear what you guys have to say. What are your initial thoughts about this trade? We'll have more information as it starts to come out, but let me know how you feel. And if you haven't yet, hit that free subscribe button so you can stay up to date with everything happening New York Rangers.